Morning, everybody. Good to see you guys. Thanks for being here today. Love y'all. Thank you. I want to welcome everyone here for the first time or maybe coming back for the second, third time. Welcome back. My name's Chris. If we've not met before, I'm the lead pastor here at Our City Church. I want to say hi to everyone online watching or tuning in on our podcast. Thank you for being here. I want to send a special shout out to my grandma. Love you so much, Grandma, Uncle Don, and Reggie, all my cousins. I got a lot of cousins out there. And hi to my mom and also Eliana. Mwah, love you so much. I know you're watching today too with your grandma. If you have a Bible, I want to invite you to open it to Ephesians chapter 2. We're going to wrap up this series that we've been in around the idea of excuses. We've been trying to move from the excuses we make to the changes that we need to. And this is our last day to do it. Before we jump into today's message, I want to say thank you to all of you who have expressed your love and care to the pastors of our church. Like a couple decades ago, Christianity, I don't even know who started it, but they put aside October as Pastor Appreciation Month in all of like Christianity, literally around the world. And like we don't really try to get you to do that. We've really never said a whole lot about it, but I've never been sure how to handle that because it's kind of weird for me to get up like it's Pastor Appreciation Month, which means I'd like you to appreciate us. So it feels weird, so I don't do it. But I also thought about it this year, and we've gotten some cards from some of you, and I wanted to say thank you. I didn't want that to go without saying thank you. And so for the next couple weeks, if you'd like to, at our Next Steps booth, which is the big blue wall outside, if you'd like to drop a card off for our pastoral staff, just to appreciate what they do and who they are and what they all have represented, please do that. I want to make sure that I'm clear about what I am saying, what I'm not saying. Please appreciate the pastors. Do that. I don't need anything. Please don't get me anything. All I want is like a high five after a good message. That makes me feel good. And if it's not a good message, lie to me. God will forgive you and high five me anyways. But for real, anything to appreciate our pastors, their wives, that's all good. Get Brenda anything you want, but don't get me anything, okay? Because that'll make it wonderful. I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase. Somebody start a sentence off like this before. You've ever heard someone start a sentence like this? They say this phrase, there's two types of people in this world. Right? And then they're going to tell you like two opposing types of people, right? People who this, people who that. I remember many years ago, about 20 so years ago, there was someone in my life that they used that. They said, hey, there's two types of people in this world. And we were talking about life, and I was a young man, and I didn't understand like a lot about just what it took to be a man and to be responsible. And I was in my young 20s. And I remember that he said to me, there's two types of people in this world. There are those who own, and there's those who rent. And I was like, okay, didn't know that, not sure what that meant. And then he said, only rent while you are working hard to be able to own. And then he also made a statement to me about paying cash for cars, like try to always pay cash for your cars, always try to use your resources, right? Now it had a profound impact in my life, and it set me up and made me kind of realize that I wanted a 5-year plan for my life to be able to go from renting to owning, but I had to change the way I thought about money, the way I spent money, how many hours I worked at the church I was at the time. So I got a second job working at an Italian restaurant 5 days a week. So I was running a youth ministry where I met these wonderful young people named Pastor Mike. Well, he wasn't named Pastor Mike back then. That's funny to me. Sorry. You guys just heard my internal dialogue. I literally said that and then made my own joke to myself, but said it into the microphone, and you got to hear that. Well, you're welcome. And then Kellen, Pastor Kellen to us now, I've known them since I was taller than them, and that's a long time ago. And so, I was running a youth ministry, and I started working 4 or 5 shifts a week as a 23-year-old, hustling pasta to people, And it set me up to grow and to learn. And about a year or two later, I was able to buy my first house and kind of begin like the journey of just trying to be wise. And it enabled me to learn how to be generous and to stay generous. And now we've built a church on being generous, which I want for you. We want something for you in that. And this man had a real big impact in my life. So for today, I want to use the same phrase, at least the opening. I want to use the question or the statement, there's two kinds of people in this world. There are people who make a difference, and there are people who make excuses. There's people who make a difference, make excuses. This man made a difference in my life because he didn't make an excuse to say, I'm too busy, I don't have enough time, he can talk to his own family, who needs to help this young pastor out? But he was a part of our church, and he knew I was young, and he took me under his wing and took it upon himself to say, hey, I'm here if you ever need anything. And if you ever want to talk about stuff that, you don't understand or you're not sure what to do, let me know. I want to be there to help you. And so he didn't make excuses. He made a difference. And now here I am 20 years later telling you about this man's life. And there's the kind of person that we want to be always hanging into balance, right? Like you think about which kind of person do you want to be? I know you want to make a difference. You want people to remember conversations they had with you 5, 10, 15, 20 years later for good reason, not because I remember what they said, but it was so hurtful or impactful. It's like, no, I actually remember you said this thing to me 5, 10. We went out, it was an offhanded comment, but you just always made time to be around me and you shared what you knew. And you don't have to know more than everyone in the world. You just got to know a little bit more than the person you're spending some time with and share what you do know. And the question that we could ask is don't you want to be a person that when you're all said and done, you made the world a better place? You made the people in your world better? That those that are around you are way different, way better, no more because you didn't just live your life for you. You made a difference, right? Well, to do that, we've been talking about these hall passes. And when I was in high school, we would have to use hall passes. And it was like the reason you could show up late, leave school, all the rest. And so often what we do is we use these reasons, hall passes. We use artificial hall passes, fake reasons, fake excuses, and we got a pocket full of them, and I do too. And at the end of the day, it's these fake hall passes, these excuses, these reasons, these because, this, that, and the others, that we don't make the difference that we want to. We have reasons that keep us from being available to others. Well, I don't have my life figured out. What business do I have helping anyone else, right? I don't really know that much more than they do, or I don't know. When I was their age, I didn't have it figured out, so I probably have no business saying anything. And we have all these reasons and ideas that kind of keep us from actually being someone that can make a difference and make an influence in someone else's life. So as we wrap up this series today, I want us to be reminded again, there's things that we want to keep in seasons going forward, and there's things we want to leave. And one of the things at the end of this series that I want you to be committed to leaving is the hall passes behind. The reasons, the excuses, because namely, we've been talking about the excuses we make, right? That's been saying, hey, we want to abandon once and for all of our artificial reasons, all of the fake hall passes, all of the seemingly immovable obstacles that are really just our excuses. And we said this all series long, but I want to recap it. Excuses become becauses. What does that mean? If you're new to this and this is your first Sunday, we've been talking about this idea that they're becauses that we retreat to. It's a because. We hide behind a because. We defend ourselves with a because. People ask us, hey, why don't you? Well, it's because. And how come you still? Well, it's just because. And why do you react like, well, it's because? And why don't you start this thing you've been saying you're going to do? Well, it's just because. Why don't you finish what you started years ago? No, it's just because. Why did you quit? Well, I quit because. Why did you get let go? Well, it's because. And we have all these becauses, but often our because isn't the cause, right? Our because is not the cause. It's masquerading as a cause. But we've been asking ourselves this question throughout the series. Is it possible that you're missing out because you've walled yourself in, built in so many excuses that now you're trapped inside this tower of excuses and you can't get out and you don't even know where to begin? And what we wanted to do is we want to say, here's how we'll begin. Let's turn them in. Let's hand the hall pass in and go, hey, we want out of this. I don't want to keep making excuses for this behavior, for the way I've been. I've been like this for a long while, right? Maybe you grew up and you watched people respond like that in your own home. And so you're like, yeah, I guess I kind of do sound a little more like my dad, a little bit like my mom. I want to change. I want to be the first person in my family to go after these behaviors and say, let's do it. Well, to do that, you've got to look at the hall pass and you got to hand it in, right? Most excuses are based in fear. I remember the first house that I bought. I was so afraid, and the conversation I had with this person about it, he was the real estate agent, and he sought me out, and he was in my church, and I remember we were talking about an amount of thousands of dollars, thousands, that my life was like, I don't know how to do this. I get tipped $50 on a Chili's shift, right? As a busboy. I was living big, right? I worked at Red Robin. I was a busser. It was my first job with a corporation. I had a bunch of jobs. That's not true. In my fourth grade, I got, this is kind of funny. I probably shouldn't do this, but in fourth grade, I got a paper route. My bike was too big for me, and it was 108 houses. I was in 4th grade. Now, I want you to know, in 4th grade, I think I was like 3'2". I was so small, and I was a late bloomer, so like I didn't like hit my stride until I was a junior. So like my freshman year in high school, I was 4'11". Jeez, so cute. Yeah, right? No guy is like, wow, that's cool. It sucked. But I remember I got this job, but there was the fire inside of me, boy. You could keep me from hard work. And so I wanted to run this paper out. But dude, I remember the first time I went over, dude, I got out. My dad bought me this new bike. We stuffed all the papers in it, dude. And I went and like took like 2 little pedals and just went dump. And like, cause I couldn't handle it. The papers were too heavy for my little body. So my dad, being the dope dad that he was like, dude, this kid is like determined to work. So I got to come alongside him. I got to make a difference. I'm tired. I'm working. But this boy of mine needs someone to help him do it. So we had a little old GMC truck, champagne kind of ugly yellow color. And my dad he dropped down the tailgate. And he would fold, stuff it into the both side paper thing. So I was like a little paper boy, like with the thing in the front and the back. And I'd go run and I would deliver. And he made me put them on the porch, even if the people didn't tip, and which always bugged me because I knew the houses that didn't tip when I did the collecting, because back then you used to collect. So then I would do it. And I was like, look, I've been putting this paper on your freaking like porch all month long. You can't give a guy, you can't give me a buck here. Like, what's up? So then, dude, I'll never forget, he taught me this. And I had to go by these homes. And I would always be like, I just want to throw it under the car. And let's see the next time I come to collect if you don't appreciate the $1 you should give me. I always had issues. So anyways, we worked through this whole deal. And I remember that like in this space, like my heart and desire for work and jobs and all this stuff became like a bigger deal to me. Now, I got a job at Red Rum. I got a job at Chili's. And I began working and I wanted to work hard. But none of those jobs ever brought me into contact or like, and our conversations with my parents never really involved the level of money to buy a home. So now I'm this 24-year-old, like young. I mean, I look back now, I think, God, I didn't know anything. And I'm sitting there and they're like, okay, so this is what's going to happen. And it's all kinds of big stuff. I was so afraid. It was like, it felt like we were talking about like chutes and ladders, like Monopoly money. Just pretend. I'm like, I am way in over my head. And I remember being like, I'm out. Let me just go pay the rent to the apartment complex because it's easy and I understand that. And I'm not afraid of that because it's comfortable, because it's what I've always known is to rent. But I thankfully had someone in my life that was like, don't be afraid. You can do this. You can do this. You can do this. And I allowed the fear of failure to really own me for months and months and months. And I think that that's a big part of, for us, what we push against. I don't know what would be hard for you. Maybe it's sticking to a budget. Maybe it's sticking to a plan for your health. Maybe it's finishing school or sticking to a routine or a schedule. Maybe it's working on a relationship. Maybe it's working on yourself. Maybe it's working on some level of responsibility, but you are afraid of it because it's bigger than you, because you've never done it and you don't know how to do it. And so you just don't do it. So you just freeze it and you just go, oh, it's just because. And all of the becauses make sense when you listen to you. It's like, yeah, I mean, okay. And so then people leave you alone and you kind of get out of the uncomfortable conversation because you're so good at your becauses that I am too. And then all of a sudden we realize in some moment, like a conversation or a message like today, and the truth kind of starts knocking on your heart and you go, dang it, I don't like where I'm at with that thing. I don't want to stay this way, and I've kind of just let it get here. And that's what this whole entire series is about. Our becauses is a narrative, and so then we off and we go and we miss out. And here's the 2 things I want you to remember. We miss out and the world misses out on you, okay? You don't just miss out. You do miss out. But people are missing out on you, the you could be, the you're made to be, the you were created to be, the you that God has for you to be, the you that you are inside that's waiting for you to turn in your hall pass and say, no more excuses for this. And then there's people around you that are going to watch the new you and be changed by the new you, be inspired by the new you, be blown away by the new you. And like, how are you? Who are you? When did you? Oh my gosh, you've never, ever been like this before. And you get a chance to go, I'm not going to let the excuse king, the king of excuse, king excuse running my life anymore. Who tells you that you can't, who tells you that you shouldn't, who tells you this one and this one. I know this one echoes in my heart from time to time big. You already tried, right? Isn't that one of the ones? I'm not the only one that hears that lie. You already tried. and look where you're at. You're still right where you are, right? You already tried, so don't try again. We would not let any child in our life live under that, would we? Would any of us let a child tell us that? I already tried to learn to tie my shoes, and I can't, so I won't. Would we be cool with that? No, we'd be like, you know what, honey, I know what it feels like. It is hard to learn to tie these things. It took me a long time to learn, in fact, and I'm still not good at it. Now I'm 45. Okay, so yes, it's hard. I just want to meet you where you're at, but here's what I want you to know. We could do this together. You don't have to do it alone. See, we know how to talk to children. We know how to talk to teenagers. We know how to talk to people in our lives, our friends, right? Don't we know how to talk to our friends and make sure that they don't ever feel so overwhelmed with the bigness of it that they go, well, I've already tried it and I don't know how, I just can't. And it just feels like impossible and it's gotten way too out of control and now it's just a thing that I don't even know where to begin with, right? We don't let anyone in our lives we love stay that way in a conversation except ourselves. We're the only ones we let think like that and stay that way. Everybody else, we help. But when it's us, we just go, yeah. And that's what I think God has you in this room for or watching or listening to this for, is because you miss out on God's plan for you. And God loves you. He created you uniquely. You have unique gifts and talents. You have a unique purpose and calling. Do you know that the very thing that is so overwhelming for you to overcome could be the thing a whole group of people want to be inspired to overcome themselves, but you are going to be the one to do it? You'll be the one to heal. You'll be the one to be strong. You'll be the one that faces the fear. You'll be the one to overcome it. That's who you are. Some of you have a calling to do something, maybe not for the grand world. Maybe it's just for the 3 people who live in your home. Just to go, wow, mom did it. It took her a couple years, but mom did it. Wow, dad did it. He did. He finished that. He launched that business. He went back to school. We paid off that debt. We bought that home. Wow, we did it. Look what our family acts like now. Look how we handle arguments. Look how we deal with conflict. We did it. Look, that is waiting for all of us, and God wants that for you. In Ephesians 2, the thing I said I wanted us to look in today, there's this place in Scripture that this man named Paul, and he's called the Apostle because he started churches and he wrote most of the New Testament about Jesus and the church. And he is talking about this idea that there's a personal God who knows you. And that's new for some of you. If you grew up in Catholic church or Christian church like I did, sometimes the God that was told to me was very impersonal and he's almost constantly pissed at me for messing up. Did anyone else grow up in that? Do I have any other recovering Christians or Catholics in the room, right? Right? Like it was just like, dude, you went to church and you knew it was time to get told, right? Y'all know what that means? You don't have no folks from the South? I have, yeah, okay. My grandparents were from the South, so we have a phrase in our family system growing up called, man, oh, you about to get told. That means someone about to tell you all about what you ain't doing right, okay? So it's like, oh, man, yeah, what happened? Man, I got told, we got told today. That's what you felt like. You was going to church, and it was just like matter of time until you're going to get told about who you're not and how disappointed God is with you, okay? We don't believe that that's the way God sees you. That's not how we preach Jesus and God and truth in the Bible. Here's what we believe. We believe God has a wonderful purpose and plan for your life, and he wants you to overcome it, and he is a personal God. He's not impersonal. He's not on some cloud playing a harp. Like, that's not God, okay? Like, he wants to be involved in your daily life, minute to minute, second to second, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, forever and ever and ever and ever, and there's nothing you could ever do that will make him stop loving you, decrease his love for you, or not want to be interested in you. If you think a good father on earth looks cool, you ought to see the way the Heavenly Father thinks about you. He loves you with an everlasting love. He can't wait to hear your voice when you want to talk to him. He can't wait to watch you want to increase your love for him, learn about him, act more like him. He loves you and he can't wait for you. He loves to hear you and hear from you. That's what we believe about God. Paul starts telling people this and it blows people away. They're like, what? I thought we were supposed to make a system happy. I thought we're supposed to make these people in the church synagogue happy so we could come in and be a part of the economic plan of the city, right? Because they had all this power. And that's how it was. And so then Jesus comes in, he goes, no, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. And nobody gets to the Father except they come through me. Not a church service, not a certain denomination, not a certain way of doing it. And do you like this song? And do you read the Bible enough? And do you know enough scripture? And what about this? And never been divorced, and you've never lusted, and you've never been greedy, and you've never been jealous, and you've never been insecure, and you've never done any of this stuff, right? You're just these awesome people, and then God will love you. Jesus comes and goes, no, I love you right where you're at. and I love you too much to leave you there. So let's go on a journey to improve our lives because I love you, I love you, I love you. I'm here for it. Jesus then gives Paul the job of teaching people how to kind of like galvanize around community and to get together with this. So in this place, Paul is describing to these Christians living in a town named Ephesus and then the surrounding areas. This is in the first century. And this is what he says. He says this, for we are God's creation. That means all created things have a purpose. You know that nobody creates a whatchamacallit? Nobody has ever created a thingamajig, right? That's what we say. Well, we don't know what it's for. But nobody's ever created, it's that thing. It's a, what do you call that thing? Whatchamacallit? Thingamajig? There ain't no such thing. People who create things, create them with a purpose. It's a design. It's intentional. God made us. He created us. And Scripture teaches, for we are God, we are God's creation. You know what that means? That means you're not just some like accidental thing that's just like going along on the earth. That means God created you with intentionality. Your wiring, your personality, your sense of humor, the things that make you laugh, the things that make you shy, the things that inspire you, the things that give you hope, the things that make you afraid, the things that embarrass you. All of those things are designed by God to reflect a portion of his character to the world. That's who you are. Paul continues, he says, for we are God's creation, all things created with purpose. But then he addresses this subset. Watch this. Created in Christ Jesus. Now that's different, okay? Okay, God created everything. Yeah. But he created in Christ Jesus. See, this is Paul's code for participating in Jesus's new covenant with God. The people knew this old idea, but now there's a new idea, a new covenant, a new connection, a new way of understanding your relationship with God. And he says, this new covenant, those embracing this new covenant in Jesus, I want you to understand is that the new covenant commands us to love others as Jesus loved us. That's new. That was like, wait, don't I get to be even? Like eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, right? Like you hit me, I hit you back. If you hit me, then, sorry, old, 80s, 90s. Everyone under 30 was like, what was that? Look, and he says this, he says, if you're a Christian, if you're a Jesus follower, okay, and here's what, at Our City Church, we never want a church full of all Christians. Okay, so I want to speak to people who are like, I don't think I'm a Jesus follower. I'm not a Christian, so maybe I shouldn't be here. This feels weird. This always feels weird when you talk. I want you to know, we want people just spiritually interested in our idea of Jesus to come every week. We never want to be a church full of Christians. Gosh, what a boring life that would be to just be full of a church full of already believing people. Because the day your church gets to a place where the only people you have in the room are people who already believe, they suck at believing. You know why? They don't ever leave and go share their belief with anyone who doesn't believe it. They don't live it in a way that makes anyone go, I want to know more about that because your marriage is dope and mine sucks. And I know yours used to suck like mine and now yours is better. How'd you do that? Oh, this guy named Jesus, this church named Our City, it's really dope. You should come. That's how that should go sometimes in your life every week, right? But if you're never doing that, that means you're a terrible Christian. You're a bad follower of Jesus. You don't ever share that you have the answer to so many problems in people's lives, but you're not really like bold enough, courageous enough, like down enough, or selfless enough to go like, hey, I want to invite someone else to it. I never want to pastor a church of people in the room that are all like, we believe it, pastor, yes and amen. I want people going like, I don't know, dog. I don't know. Keep going. I like you. I don't, whatever. Go ahead. That means we're doing it right, okay? Jesus, he's a personal God. Paul's writing about it, and he says, look, there's a plan for you. Paul says, for we are God's creation, created in Christ Jesus, ready to do this. He has a plan for you, to do good works. Whoa. Wait. So God's creation and plan for my life isn't just to bless me so my days are awesome all the time? No. That is not God's plan for you. God's plan for you is to do good works, for you to showcase his glory through the way you treat others and the way you show up to problems and the way you show up to work and the way you show up to parent and the way you show up to marriage and the way you show up to be a student and the way you show up to be a son or a daughter and the way you treat your mom and dad in front of your friends, even if mom or dad made a mistake. That is some good works that he wants to see. He wants you to start businesses and treat your employees right. He wants you to be a good employee and honor your coworkers and your bosses. He wants you to do good works. He wants you to not be a crazy parent on the side of the freaking soccer match where your 6-year-olds are like having fun and like you're a crazy parent. That's not good works. Not speaking from experience. I did become Eliana's league ref though. So you're looking at a new certified AYSO 6-year-old referee. Good works. Ready for this? God has something for you to do. Say it again, Pastor Chris, because I didn't really hear what you said and I really didn't track with it. I'm not sure what it meant for me. All right, I will. Thank you for asking. God has something for you to do that is important to his heart. It doesn't have to be some big grand thing. It's grand if it's you being obedient. That's what's grand and big to God. So many times in our world with Instagram and highlight reels and news flashes and breaking news, we just think like the only big impact my life can make is if I'm doing something big. Can I tell you this? The biggest thing you can do is be obedient to what God is leading you to do. That's big. That's grand. Why? Because most people don't do it. That's what makes it so amazing, is that few are about that business of being like, you know what? Let me be obedient to this part here, right in front of me, right here, right now. So obedience for some of you might be raise those kids right now because they're little and they need you more now than they will in 20 years. So that's the good work to do. Right? For some of you right now, it's I know I can improve the way I show up in the marriage. And I need to work on me so I could show up in the marriage better. Why? Because my husband or my wife deserve a better me. My kids deserve a better story. And I want to secure that, so I'm going to do that. For some of you, it's I'm going to show up and be a grandma and a grandpa differently. I'm going to take an interest in my grandchildren's lives. There's no reason a grandma or grandpa should not be able to text their grandchildren these days. None, zero. Like if you're a grandma or grandpa, and your kid is of age to have a phone and they're texting their friends, what an absolute missed opportunity for you to never text your grandkids. You have direct portal. 30 years ago, grandparents could never talk to their kids unless they got dropped off for the weekend so mom and dad could actually go spend time together. That was time with grandchildren. You literally could talk to them, send them, pray for them, love them, encourage them every single day, every week. Don't be overbearing, but like be something that's adding value. And you can do that now. That's a good work. And this isn't about being good for goodness sake or for your sake. This isn't created for you to do good works. No. It's not about you never messing up, never sinning, and just being this good person. No, it's not. It's not actually for goodness sake. It's for the world's sake. This is what scripture continues to say. Paul writes this next. Which God, ready for this? I love this. Prepared in advance for us to do. Wow. God has prepared things for you to do in advance. He's created you and he's created the environment that requires you. Some of you keep complaining about your job and how difficult and problematic it is. And look, there's some dysfunctional environments you need to get out of, but can I tell you this? Some of you have been gifted and anointed and called to deal with the problems at work, which is why you're there. You are gifted by God to bring solutions to a problem, to a set of problems that is required. It's why you have the job you have. It's to solve the challenges and the issues at work. And sometimes we complain about the thing that God's gifted and called us and placed us and positioned us and purposed us to actually do something about. And you're complaining about your calling. What did you think your calling was going to be? Like fun all the time? Woohoo! Party every day? No, you get to have some of that. Because you work and toil the land, right? You're out there cultivating dead ground into something that could grow and become like a cultivated, beautiful orchard of something, right? Like it's your job to go into a barren wasteland and go, I know what to do with this. That's what God's called me. He's gifted me. He's positioned me. It's what I'm here to do. Yeah, these kids are crazy. Let them get dropped off at Uncle Chris. Come on over. We'll have real boundaries in order. You can act a fool. You go back to your parents' house. Maybe they don't know how to do this thing. You come to my house, though, you're going to love it, be happy, but there will be boundaries. There's ground rules. I loved telling this little girl, oh, man, I shouldn't say this because I don't want them watching. No, I will be. I'll say it because her mom wanted it too. There's this little girl on a team in the league, and we know the parents, and she is good at soccer for the age of 6, but she don't like tucking in her shirt because she's good. She already knows it. She's 6. And so I heard her mom 2 or 3 times be like, you need to tuck in your shirt. You need to tuck in your shirt. She's like, no, I don't want to. And I was like, ooh, child, girl, ooh. Okay. So for like 2-3 weeks, man, I let that go while I was taking my certifications to become a referee. And in my certifications, lo and behold, I learned all these rules of proper attire and what needs to be and not be. And it's the referee's job to check equipment, right? Do all the girls have, do they all have shin guards because they can't be getting kicked and all the rest, right? Do they got proper, cleats? They can't be slipping around, right? Is the field cool, right? And ready? Here's the other 2. Earrings got to come out so they don't accidentally rip ears, right? So I had to make them all. She did not like that one. I don't want to, I can't tell you how much I was smiling inside, just going, I know. This was my face on the outside. This was my face on the inside. I was so happy. But nowhere near as happy as when I was like, oh, and I need all of you to tuck in your shirts. She was the only one untucked. So I was basically talking to everyone and talking to her. And dude, she was like, I was like, actually, I want to tell you, honey, you don't have to tuck in your shirt. If you don't want to tuck in your shirt, don't tuck in your shirt. And she was like, and I was like, and you have to be on the sideline. You won't get to play. Let me know. What if God has a plan for your life? What if he has a purpose for your life? And what if you're missing out on it? What if you're missing out on it because you're excusing parts of it? What if you're missing out and you're missing out because you're hiding out, right? Hiding in plain sight. And here, can I tell you this? It's true about me. Nobody will tell. You'll never get caught hiding out. You know why? Because we're really good at learning how to hide by now. Right? All of us know how to hide. We know how to hide the things that we ought to change, ought to do. We know. We're so good at the hall passes. We're so good at filling in the reasons. We're so good at the excuse. We're so good at the becauses. And let us remind each other, the becauses are never inside of us, are they? Aren't they always external? It's everyone else and everything else. It's all there, right? God created us to do some great things, and he has great things for you. But what if the thing holding you back is something that God has created you to actually overcome? And the excuses become kind of the subtle way of refusing to take responsibility or refusing to step into what God has for you. Now, if you're a Jesus follower, so for a moment, if today you're like, I like Jesus, Jesus is cool, I think he did a great thing, but he's not like your God, I want you to know for the next 2-3 minutes, you don't even have to listen to what I'm gonna say, because you don't have to do this. This is not required. I think the rest of it's been really good and helpful, and I hope all of you decide to do it no matter where you come out on Jesus, okay? This next bit though, this is 100%. If you are a Jesus follower in this room, this is for you. Jesus followers, for us, excuses become a subtle way. Listen, it becomes a subtle way of resisting God's plan for our lives, okay? And as an example, ready? Here you go. We've been commanded to forgive. So if you're a Jesus follower, you don't get to not forgive. You don't get to do that. You have to forgive. We're commanded to do it. So we must do what we've been commanded to do. If you're not a Jesus follower, you don't have to forgive. You can kind of work that out and figure that out for yourself and come up with what your best answer is. But if you today we don't get to keep the hall pass. Yeah, but you don't understand. Here's the reason I don't want to forgive. And they don't say sorry and they never apologize. They do it again. No, we have to forgive. Forgive doesn't mean you have to restore the relationship to what it was, by the way. We don't believe in that at Our City Church. No. Forgiveness says, I don't have a right to get even with you. God forgive you, and that's good. And that's where we come out on this thing. Our excuses, our fake hall passes, they have the potential to make us miss God's will for our lives. So as we wrap up, I want to give you a couple, I'm going to give you 5, in fact. I'm going to give you 5 not so easy steps to breaking free of the fake hall passes that we've been using for some of us, many years even, okay? And I want to give you a warning. If you are serious about this, you're going to get your feelings hurt by you, okay? But if you're honest with yourself, these have the potential to change your life and your relationships. They have the potential to help you discover something about yourself, maybe the folks around you that you've known for some time. They won't be surprised, they'll be relieved, okay? And here's what they are. Step one, when it comes to the hall passes and whatever the reason is, you have to identify it, okay? You have to start with identifying. What's that mean? You can't abandon an excuse that you haven't identified. So you have to start with naming it. You have to identify it, because the best way to identify them is to listen to this thing. Whatever comes after the word because that you use in your life. Pay attention to your becauses, because whenever you start going, well, it's just because, fine, great. We're all going to do it. It's part of how we process things, and it's not bad to do it, but we just don't want to be ignorant of what's happening there. Be like, well, it's because. And whatever it is, I can't because I quit, because I moved out, because I'm not talking to her, because I'm not talking to him, because I have this debt, because I don't go to church, because I'm not the same person I was 5, 10, 15 years ago, because whatever your because is that's allowing you to just stay and be stuck, you got to pay attention to that and just identify it. Start with naming it, identifying it. When you catch yourself becausing, I want to challenge you to do this. Write it down. Even if it doesn't make sense, write it down. And even when you realize that you're excusing yourself, write it down. Put it in a phone memo, put it in a journal, a diary, whatever, but write that thing down. Okay, step one. Step two, and this is where it's really powerful to do step two. Interrogate them. Okay? This is where you might hurt your feelings. Interrogate your becauses. Ask why. Well, it's just because, okay, write that down, identify it, and now go, why? Why is this my because? Why do I make that excuse whenever that topic comes up? Why do I act like this whenever this thing happens? Why do I respond? Why when this person comes up? Why when this relationship comes up? Why when this part of my relationship or this part of why when this part of my past comes up, why do I immediately go back to this because? So here's a couple sub questions of that one. What am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? Or who am I afraid of? Who you are afraid of, that person could be dead already, but they're still running things, making you afraid. So ask yourself, who am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? What's the real thing here? Not the surface because, not the thing I've told myself for years. No, what's underneath the underneath? Go there, okay? And then ask yourself, and these are gonna be, you might hurt your feelings when you ask yourself these questions, but these questions I think are valuable and they're tough. I'm gonna tell you they're tough right now, but it's important. Ask yourself this and write these down and go back to these. Am I just being lazy? Here's another one. Am I just being selfish? I'm just being selfish. It's about me. Man, I'm not really being considerate, and I don't want to be considerate. They're not considerate of me, I'm not going to be considerate of them. So you become someone that is responding to inconsiderate people. So you've become an inconsiderate, unkind person to survive being around inconsiderate, unkind people. You became what it is that you were hurt by. We don't want to do that, right? We don't want to just become the thing that hurt us. We want to stay soft and gentle and different, put boundaries up and go, look, I can't roll with you that much. I can't be around you that much. We're going to go from 3 days at Thanksgiving to dinner at Thanksgiving. Why? Yeah, it's just what's going to work best for us right now. Oh, and if you want to get really angry and mad at me about that, that just demonstrates that I actually needed to put this boundary up. Any questions? Didn't think so. Am I just being insecure? Are you just being insecure? Now, in step 2, it's critical that you do not move ahead until you have the answer and you interrogate your becauses. Your response will clarify whether this is an actual reason or a made-up one. And you're going to find some of them might be actual reasons. Some of them are going to be made-up ones. Is this a fake hall pass or not? Is it something with an artificial reason that you just got to be honest about? Now, answering why will reduce the power of the excuse. When you bring an excuse into the light, it gets lighter. It doesn't have much power. It gets smaller. Sometimes it gets sillier. It gets more ridiculous. It gets disposable. You can go, wait, that's why? Oh my God, that is why. I've been doing this, thinking it's all because that stupid kid on the bike when I was 9 years old said this, did this, said that about me and whatever, and I'm still in that situation now, right? And it becomes easier to kind of leave it behind. Let it not be in charge, in control, because you've interrogated it. Step 3, relabel it. Relabel them. So this is how you relabel them. That's not a reason. That's an excuse. Say it out loud. That's not a reason, Chris. That's an excuse. That's not a reason, Chris. That's an excuse. That's just an excuse, Chris. It's an excuse created. I literally have a hall pass, and I have created a fake hall pass for myself, and that is what it is. And if I built it, here's the good news. If I built it, I can tear it down. You don't have to stay subject to that thing. You built that excuse. You wrote that hall pass. You're the one walking around with it. You built it. You can tear it down. Why? Because I've been created by God to do stuff. And I have a life to live, and I have a world to improve. Now you're on your way. You have nobody else to blame. You hold all the cards, and you are back in the driver's seat. You have kicked out king or queen excuse. You have cut ties with the lies. You have disabled the labels. You want one more that rhymes? I know you do. You've sent your justification on vacation permanently. You didn't think I could do it, did you? Obviously, we worked on this. That's what you do. You've sent your justification on a permanent vacation. Once you've begun doing this, you begin to acknowledge this. Can I tell you what happens? This truth has begun to set you free. If you were here last week, you remember that verse, that phrase, that promise Jesus said. When you know the truth will set you free, okay? And you are free. You're free to see things that you didn't see. You're free to be things you couldn't been. You're free to do things that you couldn't have done, right? And you're free to love. You're free to show up and to be fully present as God made you to be. Step 4 is the nail in the coffin. I got to tell you that. Step 4, this is where it all gets shut down. Step 4 is where you really get the energy and the courage to push through your fake hall passes. It will take that one go-to excuse and do step 4, but it will happen. Here you go. What do I lose? Answer this question. What do I lose if I continue to excuse? That's where this thing gets real energy. What do I lose if I continue to excuse? What will I miss out on? Okay, list the consequences. What do you really give up? Who do you give up? What do you miss out on? What won't you be able to ever do because of it? Simple things. I'll never be able to try. I'll never be able to, we won't go. I'll never be comfortable doing this. I'll always, right? Whatever it all is, it's like I won't be and we won't. I won't have taught. Now it's generational again and I'm not, right? What is it you miss out on? But ready? Who misses out on you? The you are created to be. Whose respect do you lose? What opportunities do you lose? Write this down and you're going to discover something. You're going to discover that the price is too high. But you got to write this stuff down. You write down these things and you go, what do I miss out on if I keep using this excuse? Write those things down and you're going to go, oh my gosh, I've literally been blinding myself, numbing myself, just silencing these ideas. I haven't looked at what I'm actually paying to be like this, to have these hall passes. I'm paying too much. You ever realize you're paying too much somewhere? Do you keep going back? No, man, you leave with some, you're like dignified. You're like, man, please, these folks are just stealing my money. Right? I want you to take the same type of passion and go, wait a minute, I'm paying too much. If I keep using this excuse, can I tell you something that's really on the nose? You know there's no do-overs in life, right? You don't get to do over the marriage. You don't get to do over parenting. You don't get to do over your school, your education. You don't get to do over how you learn to manage money. You don't get to do over this opportunity, this time. When it's gone, and it's not coming back, and you don't get to do it again. And we don't like to hear that. We don't want nobody to tell us that, but that's the truth, and you know it's the truth. When you hear it, you go, man, that's true. But it shakes us. It kind of rattles the cage a little bit. It's like, gosh, yeah, I'm just sitting here acting like I'm going to get another shot at this. No, you're not. This is done, it's done. The kids are not 2 again, they're not 12 again. The marriage isn't this again. You don't ever get to do this again. It's over when it's over. There's no do-overs. You don't want to get to the end of your life and look back with regret. You don't want to get there because regret says this phrase, I should have. I wish I would have, but I didn't. And I didn't because my becauses weren't the causes. They were just fake hall passes. And I know you don't want to end up like that. I know you don't want to look back. I don't either. And that's why it's important to ask the question and write the things down. What do I really miss out on if I keep using the excuse? Now, step 5 is for extra credit, okay? Extra credit, this is bonus. If you do this, you are just 4.0. You're the student that I always hated in school. Like just, step 5, here you go. Tell somebody. That's step 5. I talked about this last week, and we asked this question: who is a friend to your faith? Who has permission to share their perspective with you about your actions, your thoughts, your beliefs, and who do you share your thoughts with about their actions, their thoughts, their beliefs? Who can you admit it to? Who can you share these things with? Some of you need to admit to the person that you use the excuse to treat in a way that isn't in line with your own values. Some of you are excusing away, blaming away, or doing actions that are irresponsible, immature, or inconsistent with your own values and what you say you believe. So admit it. Admit it. Last week, Eliana's taken up a couple different sports. One of them is golf. Kind of crazy how that happened. And we were out in one of her little tournaments. They play 9 holes from like 50 yards out. She graduated from 25 yards out. It was beautiful, amazing, wonderful. And I was coaching. And I didn't realize this in the moment. I reflected upon it afterwards when I looked at her face a few times, and I just was like, I'm missing it somehow. I wasn't sure why, but here's why. I realized I was I was coaching my daughter towards performance at golf instead of towards doing her best and having lots of fun. And because I know how good she is at certain things. She's like really, really good at a couple different things. She's a great putter, but she's like me. She's distracted, she's goofy, she's silly, and she's having fun. And all of a sudden, she hits this like terrible putt and it goes by, and then she's all bummed because she didn't do it. And so then I'm like trying to coach her up. But I realized I woke up in the middle of the night and I didn't like how it felt. And I know the Lord, he was speaking to my heart in the middle of the night. He'll do that sometimes with you, and he does it with me sometimes. And I just knew I needed to change. It doesn't mean I don't want to coach her. But I knew that, and her mom, my wife, Brenda, was there, right? So like, gosh dang, they all saw me be like too much of a coach towards perform. She's 6. I want you to have fun, love being out here, and I want you to do your best. That's it. And then we'll live with the rest as we get older. But I want to tell you this, I didn't mind admitting it to Eliana. I got up, was thinking about it, praying about it. Okay, Lord, I feel like I need to shift gears here and do this differently. But can I tell you the last person I want to admit that in front of? Brenda. Because Brenda's such a dope mom. And I'm like, gosh, I hate that I have to admit this. Plus she saw it and she probably wanted to tell me, but then she didn't. So now I'm going to admit that she was right with what she didn't tell me, but her eyes told me. You ever tell your husband what he's doing wrong with your eyes? Oh no, yeah, you liars. So she did, right? And she was right. And I didn't like that she was right. And I was kind of annoyed with it. You ever get annoyed with them for being right about your bad behavior? Don't point out my bad behavior to me. I'm so mad at you for that, right? That's how I felt. It's so stupid and human, but it's real. And I had to admit it the next day. I said, Eliana, Daddy needs to tell you something. And Mommy's in the car, and I'm like, Daddy hasn't been coaching you the right way the last couple weeks. And we've been working too hard on how good you do and not how much fun we're having. And I don't want to do that. As long as you gave me your best, that's what Harrells do. Harrells do their best. And we want to make sure we're having fun. So I had to tell her. I had to tell her in front of her mom. My mom was there, so I had to admit in front of her grandma, my mom. And I stated that Daddy was the one that needed to change, and Daddy was sorry. Can I tell you this? That she immediately said with a relieved voice when I asked, do you think that's a good idea? She said, yes, Daddy, I do. So she knew it. She didn't maybe not articulate it. She didn't know what she experienced or felt, but she was definitely not having the type of experience that like a 6-year-old ought to have with her daddy out there playing a sport. I don't know who in your life is needing you to admit something that you need to change and not make an excuse for. I don't want to admit it. I don't want her to take Daddy off the throne of greatness, right? I don't want my wife to hear me because then maybe she'll like remember it when I do it again and remind me, and I don't want to be reminded, leave me alone, right? Like it's all this funky stuff. But isn't that how you want to live, right? Isn't that what you want people to do for you when it's been done to you? Imagine if everybody decided to turn in the hall passes, to admit it, to own it, to speak to it, and then to do what I just did with you. I told somebody. I told a lot of somebody's, dang. But like, what if you did that? What if you went through, you identified, you named them, right? Then you interrogated them. Wait, what's the real reason here? Like, what am I really doing here? And you began to work through it. Then you relabeled it and said, that's not a reason, that's an excuse. That's not a because, let's get underneath it. And then you told somebody, I need to be honest with something that I know I'm doing wrong and I need to change. And if I don't say it, man, it's gonna be harder for me to keep to it because it'll be my own little secret change I'll work on for 6 months when it ought to take me 6 minutes. What if everyone that you knew and you decided right now when you leave today, you decided to come clean with your excuses? What would happen in our world? What would happen in your families? What would happen in your marriage, with your friends, with your coworkers, with your roommates, with your mom, your dad, your son, your daughter, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, right? Listen, if you don't identify your excuses, you'll excuse your life away. And that is too high of a price to pay. God created you with a unique purpose, a unique gift. You were created to do great works for this world, to make an impact in this world. He has created them in advance for you. He's prepared you, he's prepared them, and he needs you to push these fake hall passes out of your life so that you can be doing the things God's made you to do. Anything that's an obstacle to discovering and doing it is something you need to get rid of. So let's decide, no more hiding, no more covering up, no more blaming everyone else. Make up your mind. After all, there are two different kinds of people in this world. There are people who are not you, and then there is someone who is you. There are people that are not you, who don't have your gifts, don't have your callings, don't have your uniqueness. That means we need you to be you. And the other kind of person is, there's a person that is you, and that's you. And only you can do what God has created you to do, and you don't want to miss on that. So let's be done with the fake hall passes. Life is too short. You don't get a second chance. The world is too broken. God is too good and too great. So will you identify them, interrogate them, relabel them, and tell somebody about them? I believe if we consider doing this, and you consider what you're giving up or losing if you don't, then be done with them, you will see shift and change in your life that will transform you, your family, and people who will come behind you. So let's commit to praying this every day. Heavenly Father, I want to see me the way you see me, so I can be who you created me to be, for the sake of the world and the people around me. Let's leave our excuses behind. Let's invite the light of the world, Jesus himself, to come alongside us, light up our life, so that you can do this. You can know the truth, and you can be set free by the truth itself. Let me pray for us. God, help us to identify, interrogate, come alongside these things that we are realizing have been there for some of us for like all of our lives. I pray that as we work through these steps to relabel them and to be able to answer the questions, what am I going to lose if I continue to do this? And then to have the courage to tell somebody. I ask God that we would see transformation take place in our lives, that we will look back at this day and this series and say, that was the beginning. It took a while, but finally, when I gave myself over to it, God, I handed in my hall passes, and my becauses and my reasons went away, and I became determined to do the good works that God's prepared for me to do and created me to become. Would you do that in our lives and do that through our lives to the people around us? I pray this in the name of the powerful name of our Savior, Jesus. We're going to continue our service and end it by doing what we do around here, which is we're going to baptize. We have 9 people that we're going to cheer and celebrate for outside. They're going to be baptized. So be loud, be proud. Let's celebrate. They're being baptized into the community here at Our City Church. It's a big deal. So I'd love it if you give us an extra 10 minutes out there just to celebrate and cheer these folks on. We love you so much. Let's go change the world together. Let's celebrate these baptisms. Love you guys.